She cursed Muhammad. Pakistani man receives life sentence for murder of teenage Greek girlfriend. In Athens, a 23-year-old Pakistani man received a life sentence for the murder of his 17-year-old Greek girlfriend, Nicoleta, in a crime fueled by religious and cultural conflict. The defendant murdered Nicoleta in a fit of rage, claiming she insulted the Prophet Muhammad during a heated argument. His chilling testimony describes the escalation of the altercation, culminating in her strangulation. Quote, I pushed her off the bed and told her to stay there. She kept cursing me and Muhammad, and I got angry. I grabbed her by the neck. After some seconds, I saw her eyes were closed. The court found no mitigating circumstances, imposing a life sentence amid the heartbroken family's cries for justice. The victim's father expressed his deep loss and anger in court, emphasizing his disapproval of the relationship and his desire for the sentence to truly mean life in prison. This tragic case highlights the complex interplay of cultural, religious, and interpersonal dynamics, leaving a family shattered and a community grappling with the aftermath of a senseless act of violence. So, there's a few things that I want to preface before we dig into this more. Is whoops, that's the wrong story. Oh, I'm sorry. That was my fault. This was Susanna doing an oopsie. Okay. So now we're on the right one. Thank you. So here's the thing. Um First of all, I want to preface this by saying I had some difficulty doing full confirmation of the story because there was only one consistent source publishing about this in English and I can't speak Greek to go research to see how credible this is amongst Greek media. So I do just kind of want to put that asterisk on things. And so basically, from what I have gathered from the story and what I've read online, that there was this guy, some reported his age to be in his 30s, some reported his age to be 23, but basically he's from Pakistan and he was a refugee in Greece and he was trying to seek asylum in Greece, and there are other reports saying that he was doing it under four different aliases and that his asylum application was rejected but that he remained in the country. And he had this girlfriend named Nicoleta. She was 17. I think they had been dating or involved with each other for over a year. And it sounded like they had a lot of issues in their relationship, including that before her murder, they had an argument because she had had friends over to her place and that he didn't like that he could tell that they were there. Like it was a jealousy thing. And according to the reports and also what was provided as his testimony, he went over to her place one day, probably to argue about her being around other people, her being around her other friends. And during their relationship or contention, she had asked him to become a Christian. He rejected. She became very angry at him and allegedly began insulting the Prophet Muhammad. Um, at which point he lost it and strangled her to death. Um, and the good news is that he's getting life in prison.
Wow. Um. Okay. This is, but I don't know what to say because he's obviously living a life. Okay, here's what I want to. I want to say this, but I'm afraid of saying this because I don't know if people are going to get the wrong conclusion out of it, right? But he's obviously living a non-Islamic life, right? Having a girlfriend at all. But I want you to see how, for some people, again, I don't want to generalize. I'm going to try to not act like every single Muslim could be like this dangerous and all, because I don't want you to take that conclusion. But see how, with somebody uh, who's not taking Islam very seriously, there are certain things that are red line that hits you to your very core. So even somebody who's living a life that is not according to Islam, when it comes to cursing Muhammad, all of a sudden he sees red and he goes on full on, jihadi mode to protect his prophet. So I'm just saying that when you are brainwashed so deeply, to your very core, but you're still living a life that is not Islamically, there are certain buttons that you could push that brings up all of that. You will see all that underlying Islamic belief that comes to the service, even though you can't see it at the all the time because of the lifestyle that he's choosing.
I
This makes
actually
this
think that's a
ideology
very good I think that's a very good way of putting it, actually.
oh, okay.
Yeah. It's just so tragic.
I just want people to notice, just because you see Muslims sometimes like not living the life that is supposed to be Islamic, it doesn't always mean that it's not going to be problematic. It is all there for a lot of them, ready to come jump back at the moment that you cross a red line.
Certainly.
Yeah. Again, and also, yeah, never mind. I'm not gonna say anymore because I'm scared of people getting their own
Darko
point.
was saying, "Are we just taking his word that she cursed the prophet, or is there any evidence?" This is according to the reports that I was reading online, his own testimony in court, admitting to it.
Yeah,
So I mean, I don't know why you would say that in your own defense. I mean, if you are brainwashed in this way, you do think that is a defense.
that's a good. Yeah, do you think that's a good defense? Unbelievable.
Because there's other evidence to suggest that maybe it was just they were having teenage relationship problems, blah, blah, blah. So in that case, it might make sense that he would put that forward as, oh, this is actually why it's justifiable. Like he might come up with his own excuse and reason, as we constantly see with people being lynched and murdered for blasphemy, is that actually it's a personal dispute. And then they just slap the blasphemy accusation on top of it to basically make the terror and horror of their murder just whitewashed and saying, "Oh, well, it's totally fine because they insulted the prophet, so they were asked for it and they deserved it." We see this constantly. So maybe it was one of those situations where in his mind that makes it okay and legitimate.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.